Hi, the focus of this webinar will be on relational pedagogy. The aims of this short session are to explore the idea of relational pedagogy and what it means, and to support your reflection on how we teach relationships and social skills in the same way as we do any other skill or concept. In the introductory presentation, we outlined the 4 aspects of the Perthick and Ross approach to excellent relationships, on which the self-evaluation tool is based. These are building relationships, nurturing and maintaining relationships, restoring relationships when conflict arises, and empowering relationships. The latter is about actively teaching the skills that children and young people need to have positive relationships and all the benefits those bring, through modelling, through the climate or environment we seek to create, and through our everyday interactions, as well as through explicit teaching, at universal level, but also in more targeted ways for specific groups or individuals according to need. This session will explore this aspect further through thinking about relational pedagogy. The core business of education settings is teaching and learning, in other words, pedagogy. In the book Implementing Restorative Practices in Schools, Mark Thorsborn and Peta Blood quote Lingard, who states, "The task of school leadership is, above all, to lead learning by creating and sustaining the conditions that maximise both academic and social learning. There is a danger that the social learning and the environments that support this can be forgotten in the pressure to deliver academic learning. We need a focus on relational pedagogy within our education context to ensure this doesn't happen." Lingard goes on to state his finding that schools with a strong relational focus have enhanced learning outcomes, so relational pedagogy in this context can be seen as a foundation to, rather than competing with, more academically focused pedagogies. A couple of definitions of relational pedagogy can be seen on this slide. When we read through these, we can see that everything we've covered in the previous sessions around being restorative and creating a restorative culture form part of that relational pedagogy. There is lots of social and relational learning to be done by our children and young people. The most important reason many young people come to school is to socialise and be with their friends, particularly by the time they get to secondary school. In other words, for them, relationships are the motivating factor for attending school, but in this domain they have much to learn and they make many mistakes. They need to learn lots about how to manage relationships, and there are some examples on the slide here. How to make friends while not losing their own sense of self. How to disagree with or challenge both adults and peers in respectful ways. How to express strong emotions and be heard, but also to be able to hear others expressing their strong emotions and listen with empathy. How to negotiate and how to achieve consensus. Mistakes in these areas can lead to verbal clashes and even physical conflicts, and are often described as misbehaviour rather than being seen as errors owing to lack of skill and experience in dealing with these situations more effectively. Thinking about harmful behaviours in schools and education contexts more widely as errors or mistakes can be a useful way forward, and taking this perspective leads us naturally to thinking about how to teach underdeveloped skills rather than how do we eradicate certain behaviours, which can therefore lead to more proactive and effective solutions that are beneficial for all involved. Before moving on to the next session, I'd like you to think about the reflective questions here, which are also in the sway, either on your own, with a colleague, or within your staff team. The next session will explore how we can respond in a restorative way, including using restorative conversations.